Okay, my last one. I needed to bring up Stuart Wilde because he's, one of my other amazing teachers. He's passed. He's a British guy. I don't know what they say about him, but he's an author and lecturer. Is one of the real characters of the self-help human potential movement. His style is humorous, controversial, poignant, and transformational. He's written over 11 books at the time that this one was published. So I've read I think almost all his books, or listened to them actually, which includes The Force, Miracles, The Trick to Having Money is having lots of his immersive trainings. This book is called The Infinite Self. Actually, there's 11 books there, so I think I have some I've got to catch up on now that I'm saying that aloud. So I haven't read this book. I listened to the audio a couple times, and then I found it in a bookstore, and I went, oh, I also need this book. I need to have a copy of this. And I have learned recently by Alex Hormozi, he's a business teacher. He said that if you listen to the book and you read it at the same time, it actually helps you to retain the information a lot better, and it gets stored in different parts of your brain, which helps with recall. So that might be actually something that I try with this book. But this is called The Infinite Self, and it's 33 steps to reclaiming your inner power. And he talks a lot about how we have this force within us, and this force within us is this power. It's the creator, it's the soul, right? And he talks a lot about how to use it to live this incredible life. And so there are 33 tips in this book, and he goes through each different tip, and he gives you practical advice. And I've got to say, I've mostly listened to him speak, and he's so funny, and he says things in such a way that I almost wouldn't imagine reading his books over listening to him. The two together, I think, would be brilliant because he's so cheeky. And he says, "Oh, right, you mate." Like he does things like that. And I can see here in the quote I'm going to read to you now that when you listen to him say it, it has a totally different kind of vibe than just reading it, because it captures his personality, which is so cool. He also is incredibly talented, creative, intelligent, successful. He talks about how he was a millionaire and he basically gave everything away, took 50K, went and traveled and quit everything he was doing. And he's just had such an interesting life. So I'll read a little bit for you from the page 149. And this is step 19. The power rises from within. Most of the power you have is internal. As you garner power, you can pull it to you all that you need. Rather than pushing to sell things, pushing to tell people about the product, service, or knowledge that you're selling, just allow them to come to you. It's so much easier when you allow life to come to you. In pushing, you tend to move things away from you. Let me explain it like this. You've had the experience when you've gone into a car lot to buy a car. That sleazy car salesman comes up and is trying really hard to stuff the car onto you, telling you how fantastic it is and how you can't live without it. You've already made up your mind to buy it, but the fact that he was leaning into you puts you off and you walk away. Be careful that you don't have that effect on other people, that you don't push and shove so hard that they deny you just because you're pushing. Once you understand that the energy within you is becoming more rarefied, once you understand that the power is there, you can visualize and feel the thing you need as part of your life, and you can take concerted action. So here's a fabulous part, and I think you'll appreciate this. If you want to heal a situation with a person, you don't necessarily have to tromp across town to talk to him or her. You can fix it on an inner plane. In meditation, you'd pull the person up in your mind. So mentally, he or she is standing in front of you. Say their name. Breathe it in. Hold it for a moment and exhale, projecting that energy and light towards the individual. Do it 11 times. As you breathe this person in and out, send love and healing to the situation. Next time you see the person, he or she will be different, or they will simply be gone from your life. And then he goes on to talk about a story of how he was dealing with a tax guy, and the tax guy was causing him stress and problems. And so him and his business partners got together and they did this exercise. And all of a sudden that guy ended up leaving or calling them for a different job and said he was leaving, and they got someone else on the case, and then the situation was resolved. And so he's got a lot of really cool practical tips like that, and things that you don't really hear of, for example, shrinking someone down in your vision and then moving them away with love, or like blowing and then they fly away. And there are so many things that I've never heard in any teachings in all of the books that I've ever read that he covers in the things that he shares. He is just at a completely different world. For example, he says when you're meditating, when you meditate, imagine yourself shift to the right, because there's something about the plane that we want to be on that we have to shift to the right to access it. So different things like that, he will blow your mind. And Candace, you can listen to a lot of his stuff as well on Empower You Radio.
Nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
I have not read that, so I'm definitely going to add that to my list.
His stuff is so good. I think you'll just listen to it and go, damn, this man is incredible. And he's funny. And he doesn't screw around. Like, he's a sharpshooter. And I love how he talks about how he's like, oh, I've met all this, so many of the spiritual gurus out there. He basically talked about how he'd met basically everyone who was touring and on the circuit. And he goes, and some of them are really spiritual and the real deal, and some of them are not. And by the way, because I made me kind of wonder, oh, well, who's the real deal? Deepak Chopra is on the back of his book. So I would imagine he's the real deal. And also one of his best mates, Wayne Dyer. So you know that he's the real deal too. So just a little bit, it's kind of interesting there to hear about, because I was like, oh no, what about the people that I love and follow? Does he think they're the real deal? So anyway, he doesn't name names or anything like that. I'm just putting it all together. Well, what an awesome show. I think it's so funny how you and I were able to share books that neither of us had read before and that we both are putting on our own list. Is there anything that you wanted to share before we kind of wrap things up? Are you promoting anything at the moment? Any thoughts that you wanted to share on just today's content?